Hello everybody in YouTube land and welcome. This is an FAQ rundown of the latest FAQ 2.3, the Midwinter Gala edition. I don't know if I'm gonna, I was thinking about reading the article. Should we read the article? I think we should read the article. It's always fun to read the article. And then we're gonna go through the FAQ and see what's new, ending with the taboo list. It's not gonna be our first video about this. I'm gonna release a video before this about the taboo list. YouTube time works all a little bit messed up. Alright, greeting intrepid investigators of the ARKHAM Horror the card game. It's that time of year again. A chill wind blows across the benighted cityscape of Arkham, Mass, and our investigators must once again steel themselves for new horrors, terrors, specters, and winter. Midwinter to be precise. FAQ 2.3, the Midwinter Gala edition is here, and it's just as terrifying as the last. Aside for some new rulings and clarifications, this FAQ contains a small update to the taboo list, as well as introduction of an alternate play variance in ultimatums and boons. Read on if you dare. Sounds cool. I have to say I already know about this, so I'm not going to be too surprised about this stuff, but I assure you it is pretty cool. Errata. When our hapless investigators perform a ritual or translate arcane secrets, a single word out of place can bring chaos. The same is true for ARKHAM Horror the card game. With thousands of scenario and player cards in circulation at this point, it's inevitable that the occasional card and game effects might not function as intended. Horrifying Atwas hybrids weren't the only thing we uncovered in Feast of Hemlock Vale campaign. Since its release, we found a few bugs that we aim to address in 2.3's update. By adding a single trait to a card in the Lost Sisters scenario, players can no longer softlock themselves with a few unlucky pulls from the Cavern deck. Always good to avoid softlocks. It was also a bit strange that you could recruit Judith Park in the Vale and take her into any scenario, so there's been some updated wording to address that issue. A small change to one of the preludes ensures that a feud between two cousins can actually be settled amicably, and another errata may, depending, make it a bit easier, or at least not impossible, to grab the Promitic Shard in Ridden and Rock. That is good, because we did always just lose the Shard whenever we got it. You may also notice that 4 masks were in Carnival's Horrors now reflect the warning on the new mask suite in the Feast of Hemlock Vale Investigator expansion. Pretty cool. Rulings and clarifications. Alright, I've seen the hubbub of this in our Discord before I went live today. We've only included one completely new ruling in this update. Check out the 1.30 basic action types in which we define basic actions. Note that while grabbing a pumpkin spice latte is technically a basic action, we've omitted it from the card game for now. As a rule of thumb, a basic action is an action that could resolve in full without playing a card or activating a card ability. Taking a resource action, an engage action, or a move action are all basic actions. Attempting to fight or evade an enemy without using a card ability or by playing an event is a basic action. However, if you play an event with a bolded fight action designator, it is not a basic fight action. Likewise, if you activate an action ability with a bolded investigate action designator, that is not a basic investigate action. Additionally, we'd like to clarify that while Parlay and Resign are their own action types with bold action designators, they are not basic actions as they cannot be resolved in full without other triggered abilities. Okay. Just comprehending all that. So basic action is something that is all in and of itself. It doesn't require any other effects or triggers to resolve. You can just fight an enemy, just fist versus enemies fight. This really won't affect much at the moment, but we believe it is at the moment. It's not going to affect much at the moment, but there is ripples. It's a butterfly effect, apparently. But we believe it is nevertheless important to define for future design space. Currently, this most matters for a card like Close the Circle, which specifically directs players to take a basic action without defining which basic actions a player can take. Likewise, defining Parlay as its own action type may matter for other card abilities that care about which types of actions that have been taken, such as Haste. We also updated 2.24 extra regarding action costs. Given the strength of Exile removed from game effects, we want to drive home the fact that those are absolute, especially when they factor into the cost for another ability. For example, you can't use Push to the Limit to automatically evade all enemies at your location with Fire Extinguisher, then shuffle it into your deck. Okay, that is a good clarification. Exiling and Fire Extinguisher must happen in order to use that ability. This again isn't a huge wrinkle, but it helps maintain some balance and design space around these cards and abilities. We have plenty of new questions to stock into the FAQ list as well. No, you can't move damage to a card that doesn't have health, but good try. Using Teldra's Tongue to play Beguile, or remove it from the game after Beguile attaches to an enemy. Also good to have clarification on that. If the enemy with the elusive keyword moves while you're resolving 1-2 punch, you can still attack a second time.
No monstrous hybrids are safe from a good pair of boxing gloves. And you heard it right, and you heard it here. Tokens revealed with Rod of Carnimagos while attacking with Armageddon can result in some crazy damage. All right. We're going to go all this into greater detail as we come. Like last time, we've taken fairly light touch to Taboo list in this update, which is good, because I do think that Taboo, as I said in the previous videos, as I've been talking about it, is in a relatively strong place. So, like, the card pool, I think, is pretty good. The Taboo is an optional set of adjustments to the power level of certain cards that we find under or overperforming in the current meta. Underworld Market and 2 Ravenous Myconids upgrades have been changed. As a reminder, still have a 2 cast 2 instead of 6 instead of 4. Okay. We've included a few additional mutations as well. Unscrupulous Loan is laughably strong and standalone slayers, no downsides, have been mutated to campaign mode only. Do the same for Burn After Raiding. That would be great to see. And you also know that Empirical Hypothesis is incredible draw power, has been tempered with a limit twice per round mutation. So that's really all they're doing. We'll check out these again once we get to them and give actual thoughts. Right now, we're just reading the stuff. Okay, this is the thing I'm excited to talk about. Introducing Ultimatums, Boons, and Refractions. Ultimatums have been semi-official element of ARKHAM Horror the card game for quite some time, and we're pleased to incorporate them in the latest FAQ. Ultimatums are optional variants that approved additional play restrictions for groups looking for additional challenges or new ways to experience a campaign or scenario. These restrictions can be ranged from mild, such as the Ultimatum of Hardship, which reduces the starting resources, or dire, which turn Ultimatum of Finality, which turns Investigator defeat into certain death or insanity. Longtime players may recognize some of these ultimatums from past invocation events and marketing articles. We've included all of the previous ultimatums and even added some new ones to the mix. But that's not all! We've also introduced boons in this update. Boons are optional variants designed to make the game easier. As a tribute to Lovecraft's love of classical and Egyptian mythology, some of these boons are attributed to specific mythological figures. Solo players, often strapped for movement, may opt to take the boon of Hermes to cover more ground. Players who are more interested in playing for story than for challenge may want to take the boon of Osiris, which allows player to continue the game after their first defeat. Or perhaps, groups wanting a small but significant boost might take the boon of Thoth to start the game with an extra card in their opening hand. But wait, there's still even more! We also included refractions, which are scenario and specific ultimatums and boons. For example, the ultimatum of Venom gives extra teeth to the poison weakness in the Forgotten Age, whereas the boon of Bliss gives more time to complete Fate of the Veil in the Feast of Hemlock Vale campaign. Other variants address specific elements of certain scenarios that players may have found too challenging or too easy, or might lead to a negative play experience. We're essentially tabooing scenarios in certain ways, which I actually kind of dig. The Ultimatum of Man, for example, makes the man in the Pallid Mask immune to the effects of Corpse Dweller in the enemy in the Pallid Mask, which is really nice. Which has kind of been like in the Return to errata, but Return tos are dead, so they need to handle that in a different way. We've provided these tools so you can play ARKHAM Horror the card game how you want. Whether you use them to spice up a campaign you found too easy, or finally steamroll Shades of Suffering is up to you. Whatever you choose, we hope it helps you enjoy the game more. And with that, we're out. Nick, Walid, and I heard something about a missing shipment somewhere in Arkham, so we're on our way to investigate. Hopefully you can avoid any rampaging Ancient Ones. Thanks for playing. You're the reason we make this game. And you know what? You're the reason we play it. So, all right! Let's actually go into the actual FAQ, and now I can actually look at chat too, because I was in read mode, and now we're in talk mode. The man in the Pallid Mask, it always should have been that place. That was definitely a design oversight, I believe. That has to have been an oversight. Things slip through the cracks. All right, let's zoom in a bit so people don't need to squint to read. And then let's just let's move this like here. All right. So as I'm going to do, as I always do, I'm just going to find the red text. We're not going to worry about other stuff. I usually don't look at errata, but I think I will look at errata here. Feast of Hemlock Vale campaign setup. The expert chaos bag should include a -7 instead of one of the -6. Written in the Rock Cave in 4. The third sub-bullet of the third bullet point should read, place the set-aside prismatic shard story as the bottommost location in column 5. Hemlock House set up the 7th bullet point should settle 5 treacheries, each copied out of the walls and pulled in aside if it's not in play. This is all pretty simple. The first bullet proof that Judith 2 should take control of Judith Park. When this prelude ends, set her aside out of play. The last, oh yeah, okay, yeah. That's a little oversight right there. The last line of the first box in the codex should end with, under your control, you cannot trigger their codex during this prelude. I don't understand. I don't know what that means. I've only played once.
But that's just errata. Errata is not as exciting or interesting as actual FAQ conversation. Bauta, Medicio della Peste, Pantalone, Gilded Volto, limit 1 mask per investigator. There we go, 1 mask per investigator. As it always probably was intended to be. Like, there's stuff like that where it's like limit 1 per investigator, I'm always convinced that, like, they played it was just like limit 1 per investigator, but like it only says limit 1 mask in play. So then, but then like the people were like, well, technically it actually works like this, and they were like, okay, okay, you're technically right, which is the worst kind of right. We love the devil. All right, I think that's all the errata, right? We're gonna get into actual. Nope. Coterie Envoy. This card's ability, constant ability should read, conceal mini cards at its location cannot be exposed via player card effects. Prismatic Shard, when a scenario card or a weakness card effect would discard. And then we have Weed Choke Beats. This should have the Cave trait. Okay. These are always hard to keep track of. But. Okay. Oh, this is sick-ass art. Is this from Midwinter Gala? I haven't seen this art. It looks like it's from Midwinter Gala. That's sick-ass art, though. I love this thing. I love the texture that it has. It seems just very bumpy. I missed one? Signature cards. Oh, no! Investigator cannot play or commit another investigator's signature cards. Rest in hell, what is it? Copycat? Interesting. Right, does that actually kill Copycat? Does it kill it? Anything you can do better, but actually it's just me, you dumb idiot? On the Men, literally unplayable. Yeah. Let's see that. Arkham DB. Remember that thing I just said about the unintentional issues that pop up when you make a rule? Suddenly there's one that goes against it. However, I'm going to say something. So on the Men. Limit 1 per your hand, commit only to a test you're performing. I think that there is something about... there's something about, I think, with rules people that they're forgetting a very important rule in the rule book. Which is card texts overrides rule books. So for me, I don't see the issue with this. Like, I think that you can always commit this because the card allows me to commit it, which goes above what the rule book says. The golden rule, as everyone knows. But I understand that it becomes very messy. Is it even a signature card? It is technically, because it has the zoop. Cards just work. Exactly, Pax. 100%. Cards just work. That's the golden rule. If you feel like the rulebook is telling you can't, but the card says you can, you can. Where'd you find this new taboo list? It's on the FFG website, fantasyflightgames.com. All right, yeah, but this basically for me is just for Copycat, which is a shame. I mean, I also have always said that I think the game would be more fun if you could also play other players' signatures through things like that. Because why not, right? Why not? That's kind of just my thought on it. All right, now we're in the rules and clarification. Superfang, 33 months on the golden table with a 4-month streak. Thank you for your Twitch Prime subscription, and I hope you're having a great Wednesday. Taboo Day! We love Taboo Day. It happens twice a year. All right. Let me know if I miss a red as I'm scrolling through. I know they said that this was a smaller update here. Ah, basic action types. This is the big one. Okay, does it go on to the next page? No, it doesn't. Basic action types. A basic action type is a player may take and resolve in full without any other modifiers or abilities, including bold action designators. The following are basic actions: draw, resource, move, investigate, fight, engage, and evade. Activate, play, resign, and parlay are not basic actions. For example, an investigator may use Close the Circle's ability to take a basic fight action, but cannot use it to play an event with a fight action designator. This is not considered a basic action. Okay. I might sound like again like I think this is a good change. I think this is a good change. It just makes sense to me. It makes sense. Okay, so like here's the thing where the issue goes back to you can't. It's like one of those things where like if you pick too many nits, it becomes a little bit of an issue. But my mind is that always just like this just makes sense, right? How I look at it is that a basic action should be a card. It should be an action you take that does not require a card. So as soon as you have to play a card, it's no longer basic. That's like what my headcanon is for what makes sense for a basic action, right? I also, activate and play are no longer basic actions is properly good. I think it's probably good as well. It does suck to lose for Close the Circle. Like being able to play cards with Close the Circle was kind of cool, right? Being able to just like, or activate something or just like play a basic event without a designator, right? I do agree their example here is bad. Like you could use Close the Circle to gain a resource, but you couldn't use Close the Circle to play an emergency cache. I think that's a good way of putting it. However, I think that honestly, if you just cover this up, this now makes sense. Like this is all you need. If you just cover up with your hand, everyone cover up that example, right? And you just look at this part of this basic action here, like this makes sense. I don't need any further explanation from this, right? Yeah, ruling is good. Example was just poor. I agree with that completely. This is just a change from that? Yes. It's... I do agree that like it's because I saw the example you posted of the Edge of the Earth FAQ. However, I do think that rules should be changed, and I think that like that's fine, and like it should be like we should always be kind of like the designer should always be looking at being like, okay, how can we tighten this? How can we change this to help future design space, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, like basically the only card this really affects is Close the Circle, and a few custom investigators that people have created. That's kind of really all that it's actually affecting in the game right now, right? The only official card is Close the Circle, right? Because the only thing else that cared that before is like the skill suite, and then also Eon Sharp, but those have also now been just that they specify what they are. How does haste fit into this? I don't think haste changes. Oh, this is just defining parlay as its own action type. So now you like parlay actions, right? So like now parlay is its own action type as well. It doesn't know what. I actually don't know what it changes. I mean, to me, it doesn't change anything. I don't know what that means. Yeah, but like, because parlay's always been an action type, right? I bet we're carrying some more things about basic actions. I agree. Someone actually, someone above, I don't remember who said it, so raise your hand if it was you, said a treachery that says you can only take basic actions is coming, and I can actually see that being the case. Haste plus parlays in the FAQ later. Let's go! Itchy eyes. Yeah, I think overall this is good. I'm just ignoring this. Like, I don't need the example. This makes total sense to me. And I think this is a great change. Anything that requires a card should no longer be basic, right? I think that's just like a pretty sound piece of logic to have. Ignore that. I'm just brightening up my camera. And I'm sorry, all you close the circles believers, that the card became a little bit less strong. I was actually playing it in Carolyn, and it's exactly as I thought it is. It's good in a deck built around it. And I did enjoy being able to play cards with it. But I'm not going to miss it. I still think the card just being able to move you, draw you, or investigate you is pretty nice. All right. Let's keep this going. Let's see what else there is. All right, ignoring all costs. This has always been a sticking point. I don't like how they do ignoring all costs in this. Some cards like Knowledge of Power or Word of Woe allow an investigator to play a card or activate an ability on an asset, ignoring all costs. These effects only ignore the cost of initiating an ability, such as action costs, resource costs, spending uses. They do not ignore additional costs that must be paid when resolving that ability. In other words, anything before the colon is ignored, but any additional costs after the colon must be paid as normal. Abilities that exile a card and or remove a card from the game as cost cannot be ignored. Okay, additionally, Push to the Limit does not allow Investigator to waive the cost of exiling Fire Extinguisher when resolving its section ability. So it's not ignoring all costs. Essentially, yes. Let's get this up here. Let's actually see what's cooking. So this is actually something that came up, and I'm actually glad that this was actually clarified. Including ignoring all costs. So, anything's before the colon. Okay. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong here, everybody. Push to the Limit would still not discard Fire Extinguisher, right? It's still ignoring that cost. Yeah, this one also does, but you also could do it with this one, right? Yeah, so this one you could still do that, but you could no longer... So basically what's happening is that this, you may exile Fire Extinguisher instead of discarding it to discard each non-elite enemy evaded by this effect, is not replacing the front side. It's an additional effect that happens with it. I think that makes sense. I think what you're saying, Dice Gods, is true. Just before the colon versus after the colon, they're two separate instances. I think that's really good. Oh, it's playing from your discard pile. That is true. Yeah, no, it is. It's already discarded. No, you're right. You're right. It's in your discard pile for Push to the Limit. I'm wrong on that. But you can no longer exile it. Same with the Fire Extinguisher 1 is an easier thing to grok for that. So you can't just... You have to do that no matter what. I mean, I think this makes sense, right? But, like, that's the thing with, like, the Fire Extinguisher. That's the weird one, right? Because if you ignore all costs, and costs were the thought of everything on the everything in front of the colon, this part of it, people were like, does this replace the front side? Like, does this replace the cost? But I think what... Even this goes even just beyond that, where ignores all costs, but it does not ignore... What it's basically saying, ignore all costs except for cards that exile or remove from the game. Yeah, I also I understand that reading of it, where the exile was replacing the discard before the colon, which is why people thought it was possible, which I think was a very fair reading of this, right? But now, basically what this is saying, ignore all costs, except for costs that exile a card or remove a card from the game. I think, like, that's kind of just, like, what it really comes down to. This is just, like... So, like, the issue with Arkham rules, is that it's, like... There's jokes in, like, there's spaghetti code for games, right? Where games are kind of just, like... The code, you can't change it because the spaghetti code is too spaghetti, right? Well, this is basically, like, having to work with that and kind of, like, make it fit. Like, to me, this is based, like,
Ignore all costs except for costs that exile a card or remove a card from the game. So it doesn't ignore an additional cost like Meat Keeper. I think it does. I think it does. Or Enchanted Boat. Let's see. So I think it does, though. That's the crazy thing. I think it does. Additional cost to initiate this ability, you may spend one charge to have to attack target. Yeah, as additional cost. Yeah. To initiate, which is before the colon. Honestly, with this, I think, like, it's just, again, you can ignore any cost except for something that, so you could not use Push to the Limit to get 2 clues and then shuffle the Gravedigger Shovel in your deck. You could use Gravedigger's Shovel to get 2 clues with Push the Limit, but it would be removed instead of shuffled back in. Look up Old Book of Lore, because that's the reason. Then you may spend 1 secret. Ah, okay, so you have to... Okay. So this is why it's after the colon. Because it's a then, comma. So this isn't part of the cost. Okay. I mean, that makes sense to me, right? But I think what's important, though, is just that, once again, it's just, you cannot ignore costs. Like, honestly, what they should have done for ignoring all costs, they should have just in, like, 2.24.1 and just been like, you cannot ignore costs that exile a card or remove a card from the game, right? Divination gets skewed as well. No. No. I don't think Divination gets skewed, because it's on the other side of the colon. Again, you just have to look like left side of colon, right side of colon, and if it doesn't say as additional cost, it's not on. It has to be on like the left side of the colon. It has to have an additional cost or like that kind of thing. And we can look at Shovel again, because see what that says. Instead, yeah. Or remove it from the game. So it's like replacing this effect. Divination isn't replacing this effect. Right? It's not on the left side. So Divination does not get skewed. Alright, that makes sense to me. I'm going to move on. I think that's a pretty reasonable one as well. Alright, FAQ. The FAQ. Already talked about the scenario ultimatum? No, we're gonna look at them. But to be honest, like I said at the start of the video, I already knew those were coming, so it's less of a exciting surprise for me. I'll probably do a video about them, though. Enchanted Blade is a crash course in interpreting this brilliantly. The 3 different versions have different timing for costs and interact with it differently. That's kind of cool. Alright, I love me an FAQ. I love FAQ stuff. So let's see what these ones over here are. If I use 1-2 punch on an enemy with an elusive keyword, the enemy leaves my location in the first attack. Does the rest of the attack resolve? Yes, it does resolve. If an investigator uses an ability that allows them to perform sequential attacks against an enemy ready with the elusive keyword, they resolve each of those attacks against the enemy in succession, even if that enemy changes location while the ability resolves. I'm pretty sure we actually played it that way when I did Butterfly Swords in my Lily Chen deck when we did it through our Hemlock rerun. So I'm happy I'm on the right side of history for that one. Can I play Foresight while resolving an effect that instructs me to draw multiple cards simultaneously? What about while resolving an effect that lets me search my deck and draw a card? I don't see why you couldn't, right? Yes to both. You can play Foresight before drawing multiple simultaneous cards, and if that card you name is among the cards drawn, you may resolve the choice on Foresight for that one card. You can play Foresight resolving an effect that search your deck for a card, however you must name a card that you're drawing before searching your deck. What about 1-2 punch 5? I'd say yeah. Again, don't worry about it. That's the thing. I would just like don't overthink it. Don't just be chill. Yes, is my response. With Flurry of Blows, can you smack the enemy with Cyclopean Hammer, pushing them away and smack them 3 times? Oh, that's a fun question. Let's look at that. Black Souls!
Blacos. There really does seem to say sequential attacks just work. But notably it does say 17. But again, I'm just going to just be chill, is my thoughts. Just be chill, everybody. Alright, I don't know for Flurry of Blows, to be honest. But I'm not being paid to do that. I'm being paid to joke about Arkham. Alright. When a card allows me to resolve an ability without paying its action cost, such as hand-eye coordination, does it allow me to avoid paying all costs? No. Frustratingly enough, the answer to this one is no. If an instructor resolves an ability without paying the action cost, the investigator only ignores the first action ability and the cost. For each additional beyond that, they must spend an action. The investigator must also pay any other costs required. Yeah, so without paying its action cost, without paying, I mean, I really wish they were just like resolve an ability reducing its action cost by 1, right? If they just said that, like reducing its arrow cost by 1, that would solve this so much. Like it's such messy templating that I wish was just different from the get-go. If I use Eldritch Tongue to play an event that attaches to another card such as Beguile, when does that event get removed from the game? An event that this is actually huge also for Parallel Agnes with like Power Word and all that. An event that attaches to another card is considered resolve when all abilities and effects triggered by an enemy play resolve, including its attachment effect. If you play Beguile using Eldritch Tongue, Beguile will attach to the enemy, then immediately get removed from the game. That's really funny. Nice to have good clarification on that, though. If I use the ability of Rod of Karma Ghost within a free player window during a skill test, does it count as tokens during revealed during that test? Yes, it does! Thank goodness! Tokens revealed with Rod of Karma Ghost this way are revealed during a skill test and can trigger abilities like the ones on Sixth Sense or Servant of Brass. However, the tokens revealed with Rod of Karma Ghost have no effect outside of these abilities and are ignored at all other points of the skill test. They have no modifiers, no auto-success or auto-fail, etc. I love this one! I love it! I honestly, I didn't understand the people who are like, this is like too, like this is bad. To those people, they're like, they just don't want Mystics having fun. They want Mystics to continue to just like grind their deck to dust while Seekers and Rogues do a million things with their cards. Like, you know? Like, how dare they get card advantage like we get card advantage, right? Like, how dare they when I'm playing Lucky Cigarette Case and just frickin', you know, using my Winifred to draw through my entire deck in one turn, or I'm just playing a Seeker, I'm playing like Amanda Sharp and going nuts. How dare the Mystics use their Sixth Sense every turn? How dare they get 2 clues? How dare they? I think this is great change, though. I love it. If a card ability allows me to move damage and horror to another card, can I move that damage to a card without horror or sanity value? No. An effect that can move damage or horror from one card to another, such as wrong place, right time, must move that damage or horror to a card that has health or sanity value, respectively. People mostly dislike it on the principle for feeling like a hacky, grotesque statue instead of curse of enchant monster thing it looks like it's supposed to be. Yeah, but those people can, like, what are they called? They're Melvins or Vorthos. They're the people who care about flavor. They can feel upset, but they also must understand that gameplay will trump feelings, right? Gameplay can gameplay should trump like the feels of the card occasionally. Not all the time, but sometimes it can. And I think Erotic Carnimagos is more fun and a better, more exciting card because it works that way. Do parlay actions count for the purpose of card abilities such as haste? Yes, why wouldn't it? Why is that even here? Probably because someone was like, it doesn't say parlay on this, right? I can't with people, man. I can't with people. I can't. Types include implies that there is more than this. There is more than it. Types include. Include implies this is some of the inclusions, but it does not necessarily mean it is all of the inclusions. Of course you can. Justin was actually FFG who said parlay wasn't valid. People agree with you. Then I'm mad at FFG then in that case. Was it the email ruling person? Was it the email? Because those email rulings are they're always a little bit wild. All right. Hey, Gabriel Bardo, thank you for the 10 months at the golden table on a 3-month streak. That's pretty sick. Okay, so I think now we're going to go into, I mean, maybe there's some FAQ stuff from previous stuff. We love Ice Sculpture Moon Beast. Email ruling, they can be hit or miss. Nah, man. My life became so much better when I ignored email rulings. Like, I understand that comes from the context of a content creator, but it was, that was something. That was something. After completing the prelude, the final evening, do I care over any assets or resources? No. Clean up the game as normal. The book says this, but I do appreciate that this is here. The rules actually say this. When cleaning up a prelude, what happens to cards attached, replacing other cards in place, such as Safina Rousseau? Aside from the single asset you chose to keep, each face-up card attached to another is discarded. Will each card attach face down? Oh my god. That's really good. I mean, this is probably how people played it, but I love that there's an actual clarification to this, right? That's such a good FAQ. That's so good, right? That's such a good clarification. That makes sense, yeah. And honestly, it's kind of actually nice to have a ruling. This card, oh, but are these face up? Are these face up? Are these face up or face down? Oh no. They're placed beneath. Ah, face down or place beneath. Okay, place beneath is part of that. Perfect. Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's specifically addressed. No, I just missed that. That's really nice with Backpack, though. Place beneath her, yeah, in their basement. That's really nice with Backpack. Love to see it. This is great news. Great news. When resolving the revelation effect of treachery such as calcification or psychotropic spores, when can I take the direct damage or to automatically succeed? When resolving these abilities, investigator may choose to either perform the effect before the test and therefore skip, or they may attempt the test. Oh, that makes sense. That's how we were playing it, right? Diana can turbo pump the brain before the scenario. I'd love to see Diana actually cancel things in the prelude phase, though. There's no encounter cards. That's the thing, right? Like, how is she gonna... that's the question, how is she gonna do it? Asu, was this the one you were mad at, that you said earlier? Oh, then we weren't playing this wrong. No, you're right. I actually read this one wrong. We've always played as if you try the test and failed. Doing an after test does seem odd. Yeah, no, actually it does seem odd, doesn't it? I actually read this one wrong. I just assumed that we were playing it right, but we were actually playing it wrong. Where's all these effects? It affects the ramps too? Thank God! Whereas all these abilities, the investigator may choose to either perform the effect before the test and therefore skip revealing chaos stones to the test, or may attempt the test, and if they fail, perform the... yeah, I mean, that's a bummer. That's a bummer for sure. It does, yeah, after the odd, I mean, it's a bummer in the sense that, like, right now I'm like, it makes it a little bit easier, and I like when the game is harder, but still. Oh, wait, it affects the ramps? I love this, Kappa. I mean, again, I'm happy that there's, like, consistency now, so we can now also see, like, it changes the order of those things. I think that's, like, nice to, like, have officially codified in here. But that's a bummer. All right, taboo list. This is pretty minor, right? Underworld Market is getting +2 experience, so it now costs 6 XP. Honko from Duke just now. I figured we let Rod and Carmagos have his time in the sun for a little longer, but I've definitely heard the community feedback on it. Duke, the community's wrong! Don't listen to them! They're wrong! Don't listen to them! Don't! Don't do it! Don't! What is that? This is me right now. When I hear that. No, Rodicarnum Ghost is fine. Don't change it.
Fatality.
Don't say it. Don't let them win. No, Duke, please keep it. It's great. Nathan, 3 months of the Golden Table. Thank you for your support. All right, Underworld Market up to 6 XP. So it gets +2 experience, but it's not. Its level is not changed. So it just costs an additional +2. 6 XP for this effect. I mean, it's probably fair, right? That's probably a fair taboo when you think about it. This is a game like a deck warping strategy. It changes your deck. It changes how you play. I think that's fair. I think that's pretty fair. I think that also, like, permanents should just generally be a little bit more expensive. I think the problem with this card was that it was like they designed it for 2 XP exceptional so people off class could play this, but then they're like, oh, the power level's a little bit wrong. You still pay the resource for the cards? Yeah, if only like Rogue was the class that... If only Rogue could get resources, right? If only Rogue could just like do that. I think that too... but honestly, I also didn't really think this card was super... I mean, playable when like Lucky Cigarette Case 3 exists. Like that's kind of like, to me, all I need to find what I want in my Rogue decks. But I think that, yeah, it's a pretty reasonable change. The Ravenous Myconids are now +1 experience for the Sentient and Carnivorous strain, so they're both now... these two are both now 5 XP. I think that's a good place to start. I think that's a good place to start for those. I think that's a pretty okay change, at least to go. I think again that they're... I think what's most reasonable about these two being 1 experience more, is that this version does feel notably weaker than the others. Sorry, you actually can't see this due to the way the screen is. Let me just move this over here temporarily. You actually can't... So, like, these ones are pretty fine as they are. Like these ones are, like... I think this one pretty fine. This one, actually, honestly, to me, if I had my way, I'd make this one 3 and keep these ones 4. The cancel one definitely more XP. I agree, but I also disagree. Because, like, there's so many... Like, there's... The Mythos deck, there's so many ways to beat it now, right? And also, like, yeah, everyone says what the different one is stronger, so that's how I know they're actually probably more, like... more reasonable. Like, I think this one could have... I think these are 4, this a 3 also, if I had my way. But thank God I don't. Thank God I don't. Is that it? No. Thank God. Unscrupulous Loan. The first line of this card gains campaign mode only. Yes! I don't know how to spell unscrupulous, so we're just going to search loan. Also know that I got an FAQ. No, that was last time, though. That was the last FAQ, wasn't it? Hypnotic Gaze got one. That's old. That was in the January or the February one, wasn't it? Look on the text on red 23. Page 26, number 23. I feel like I'm solving a fucking riddle with you right now. Oh. I'm pretty sure that was there before. Didn't that happen before? Isn't that the February one? I remember that happening because everyone was like, thank God that happened. Maybe I'm just in the future. No! You guys are fucking crazy! They forgot to change it! Aha, chat! You're wrong! Look familiar, chat? See? It was from the last one. Because I remember, I remember being like, they did it. I have to go to the YouTube video now. Let's go to the YouTube video. I mean, that's the best thing. Let's see if I talk about it in the previous video. Taboo. Because this change happened in like the one in the summer, and then this one happened in the fall. There's a new taboo list and FAQ. Let's watch it together, chat.
Hello, everybody, and welcome.
That's me.
On February 20th, a new FAQ with the taboo list was released.
Oh, did I not do a slideshow for this one?
You can control dendromorphosis, right? Pretty straightforward and goes in the article.
Yeah, it's there.
Going to the upgraded scavenging because it's not.
Keep going, Justin. Get ahead.
Why some people ask if I always just assume so. Maybe that was kind of silly.
Yeah.
Ritual candles. Oh, the hypnotic gaze. No, so the hypnotic gaze over here. It looks like they just had the hypnotic gaze match. Because they did that thing where like there was the level 0, but they didn't do the upgraded one, and they were like, we're gonna ride this out, see what happens. And then they were like, you know what?
I mean, it's so easy to miss, right? It's so easy to miss. I see, I knew it, chat. I knew you. I was like, there's something wrong here. I may not know, I may have the worst memory in the world when I'm talking about Arkham, but when I make a video about taboo list, I'll remember it. I'll remember it. We wanted you to have the exact same, we did, yeah. That's why I was so confused. I was like, what are you talking about? That's already happened. That is really funny, though. I mean, it is so easy to miss, though, just this red 23. All right. Yeah, but I mean, like, it does make sense because the last taboo was so tiny, right? It was just like scavenging and like these ones, and then also this. It was like the smallest amount, right? All right. All right, unscrupulous loan, yes. I also think that, like, while not each exile effect should... I mean, you know what? I'm going to just agree with your hot take, Dice Gods. I actually would not mind if exile cards were just forbidden in taboo, in standalone mode. I would not be upset. I'm not going to fucking cry myself to sleep because I can't play Flare in standalone mode. And then Empirical Hypothesis, this card's ability gains Grant twice per round. Okay. I actually am not too, I don't know, I think this card's strong. I think it's a strong card, right? Like, I think it's a very powerful card. But, like, at level 0, it's, this card's Lightning Bolt ability gains this. I'm going to assume that it's all of them. All of its Lightning Bolt abilities can only be triggered twice per turn. However, at level 0, this card is basically just Lucky Cigarette Case, right? I mean, actually, you have a good point, Superfang. It says this card, it doesn't refer to, let's look at Runic Axe. Upgrade Inscription of the Hunt. I don't know, there's nothing, like, really to go for it. But it's only on the level 0, so yeah, that does seem like pretty good logic for following that. However, I do think that, like, this card at level 0 is basically just, like, it really only becomes, like, more of an issue when you have 4 experience into it. And then, in my opinion, isn't it just, like, it's not, like, on par with Lucky Cigarette Case 3, but it's, like, pretty close to the card advantage that Lucky Cigarette Case 3 can give you, right? Like, slotless Lucky Cigarette Case? Yeah, sure. I don't care. Like, I don't, like, look at slots as more of a value than that, because, like, it's still a play, it's still that kind of stuff, right? But it's still just, like, because, like, if we want to, like, look at, like, it's slotless, yeah, but you need to succeed by 1 more, which, surprised at how often actually does matter, right?
Succeeding by 2 versus succeeding by 3, right? Like if we want to get into it. But I think this card is pretty fine as it is. The limit twice per round, like I understand the idea is that you do it in bulk, right? Like you can just save, and like the power is you can do it when you need it, so it's less reactive, right? So it's less reactive and more proactive. So like maybe the cap on it is good, but I thought this card was pretty fine. Oh, that's me running from chat when they're like, "There's don't forget about the hypnotic gaze." And I'm like, And that's me looking at my past video too. Scott, here's their new taboo list. Yeah, there is. All right. Ultimatums and boons. The Ultimatums and Boons list provide an optional set of variants to further tailor your experience for Arkham Horror. For your group, each ultimatum is a restriction, limitation, or additional rule that makes the game harder for a group of investigators. Conversely, boons make it easier. After deciding which scenario and campaign to play, each group can now optionally select as many ultimatums and or boons as they wish. Groups are not obligated to choose any particular ultimatum or boon, and the choice of which to use must be unanimous among all investigators in the group. Once chosen, all ultimatums and boons are permanent throughout the duration of the campaign or scenario. They're not created equal. Some may be harder, some may be easier, etc., etc. All right, let's see these ultimatums. Ultimatum of Agony. When assigning damage or horror, investigators must assign as much as possible to a single card before any excess may be assigned to a different card. I like it. I mean, like, again, it's the question of how much are we going to actually use these. Or design their own? Ooh. I think we could have some fun with that, for sure, here. So, as again, this stuff, I don't have, like, I'm not gonna have too much to react to these because I've like read them before, but they are really cool, and the refractions are fucking goated as hell. I'm so excited to talk about the refractions with all of you. Ultimatum Broken Promises. Remove the Elder Sign from the bag. Broken Veil. Anytime one or more weakness cards are discarded from the top of Investigator's deck, shuffle those cards back into Investigator's deck. That's just a taboo kind of for Dunwich Legacy. Ultimatum of Chaos. Each investigator's starting deck of non-signature non-weakness cards must be selected at random. So this is just Chaos. This has been here before too. Ultimatum Disaster. Each investigator's deck building requirements gain one additional random basic weakness. Ultimatum of Dread. Do not skip the Mythos phase during the first round of each game. Ultimatum of Failure. Add additional autofail token. Yuck. Ultimatum of Finality. Campaign mode only. If an investigator is defeated by damage, they are killed. If an investigator is defeated by horror, they are insane. But the great thing about this is, like, for example, there's the Hunters of the Mythos. And now Quati can just, like, actually just, like, put this and be like, we're playing with the Ultimatum of Finality for this. You know, it's like, this is it. I don't need to explain the rules. I can just write Ultimatum of Finality, which is really nice from like organizing a community event type thing, which I think is really cool. Ultimatum of Forbidden Knowledge. Each investigator begins the game with one fewer card in their opening hand. Hardship, 2 fewer resources. Ultimatum of the Highlander. Each investigator's deck can only include one copy of this is just one-ofs. Okay, Ultimatum of Induction. Campaign mode only. Investigator's deck can only contain level 0 cards. Investigators cannot earn or spend experience. I really do want to try this challenge. I think an Ultimatum of Induction campaign run could be a very fun challenge to try to do. Ultimatum of Orthodoxy. Play the game using the taboo list. I can promise you, chat, that every campaign we're going to play with an ultimatum. That ultimatum might be the Ultimatum of Orthodoxy, but I promise you, we will have an ultimatum in every campaign we play. Doing it in Dunwich, you don't get experience there anyway. You know what's crazy? I actually get more Dunwich and more experience in Dunwich on average than Carcosa now. I've found a way. But then you have to play the same deck 8 times. I mean, let me tell you about Arkham Horror. I have played the same, like me and Arkham Horror, I've played the same deck a million times. Ultimatum of the Scream. Campaign mode only. When a non-unique, non-story, non-weakness ally is defeated or removed from the game, you cannot play for the rest of the campaign. After it ends, or move on. Yes! Again, this is like in the current rules in the Hunters of the Mythos in a way, which is really nice. Ultimatum Survival. Investigators killed or driven insane. Their players eliminated from the campaign. Sorry, you have to actually you can't play Arkham anymore. You're done. You're retired. You're out.
I think that's cool. Ultimatum of ultimatums. Choose one ultimatum boon at random and begin the game with that boon or ultimatum active. That's kind of fun, just it's random. All right, boons. These are all positive, so they're going to sound really great. Boon of the Ancients. Campaign mode only. Each investigator gets 5 additional experience. Boon of Athena. The first time each time you draw an artifact token, each game you may cancel that token, return the bag, and draw another to the place. They've house ruled this for a lot of people do this as house rules, and they're like, go for it. You have now Athena's boon to protect you, which is really, I mean, it's nice for them. I don't think we're probably going to play with a boon. I can't imagine. Like, maybe we do, like, we roll, like, 2 random ultimatums, 2 random boons. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Boon of Destiny. Before drawing your opening hand, you may search your deck for 1 copy of a card and add it to your hand. This is just how we cheat on the channel, so it's fine. Boon of Hades. Each investigator begins the game with 2 additional resources in their resource pool. They really should have called this, I mean, like, I understand the flavor was gods to work with Lovecraft's love of them, but, like, this should have just been Boon of Mateo. 2 additional resources for Hades. Hermes may take an additional action during the turn, which can only be used to move. That is nice for true solo, for people who haven't problems with it. The Boon of Osiris. The first time each investigator would defeat in a scenario after suffering trauma, heal all damage and horror from that investigator. That investigator will not be damaged until the beginning of their next turn. This isn't even my final form, Umordoth, you fool. Boon of Thoth. Each investigator begins the game with an additional card in their opening hand. I mean, that's 3. That's... You're playing with 4 players, that's 12 experience right there. That's really good. It's not more value than that, because that's 20. I just did the number. All right. Refractions. Now, this is cool stuff. The refractions are basically a way to make changes to specific scenarios, either adding more difficulty or changing some certain aspects of it, which we're going to get to. 2 that are notable for reasons that I can't fully delve into, but there's 2 for Undimensioned and Unseen that are really cool. Ultimatum of Invisibility. Each Brood of Yogg-Sothoth gains the elite trait and is immune to all player card effects except for Esoteric Formula. And then Ultimatum of Multiplication. Instead of the standard setup instructions, begin the game with all 5 Brood of Yogg-Sothoth on the play, 1 in each of the 5 locations beside Dunwich Village. And during this scenario, whenever an effect would cause you to spawn a set-aside Brood of Yogg-Sothoth, you must instead place 1 Doom on the current agenda. I like this a lot. It's really cool. And again, keep your eyes open during the week of Arkham Horror. There might be something cool coming for this. And it's gonna be really, it's really good. It's really good. So just get hyped. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's already happened. You can find it on the channel. Ultimatum of Death. The Paladin Mast. After setup, immediately advance to Agenda 1A. The Spectre of Death is spawned at your starting location exhausted. Agenda 2A gains a +6 Doom threshold. Spectre of Death gains the following. When it would be defeated, instead of adding to the victory display, heal all damage from an exhausted. It does not ready during the next upkeep phase. Ooh. Just a challenge. So so the reason why I like these refractions is it's a nice challenge to just like try it out, and it like can change how you approach the scenario, especially in standalone mode, to the point where expect these to be run in our patron game days as well. It's gonna be really fun for standalone mode. Ultimate of the Man. This is the one that makes it so that he cannot leave the Tomb of Shadows and can't get destroyed by humanoid enemy. This is essentially a taboo in my mind. Ultimate of the Unspeakable Name. If you heed Daniel's warning recorded on your campaign log, each time you speak Caster's name during setup or play of a scenario, in addition to taking 1 horror, suffer 1 mental trauma. Yes, I like it. I think there's people like this has already existed in the Return to, right? This is a Return to thing, but it's fun to see it here on the actual FAQ. Ultimatum of Venom. When the game ends, if you have not been eliminated, suffer 1 physical trauma. Each copy of Poison gain that. That does not frick around. Is that in the Return to, or is that new? I don't actually like read too much of the Return to pamphlet. Is this part of the Return to as well? If so, it's nice to have this here. Ultimatum of the Drowned. Into the Maelstrom. Each agenda gets a -1 Doom threshold. Let's go! This one's really nice, because that scenario is kind of easy on the Doom clock. The forced effect on Dagon's side instead reads, forced. After its evader dealt damage, do the same to a copy of Dagon's Brood in play as well. Ready, Dagon. Oh, and same for Hydra. Oh, that definitely makes it more challenging. After Dagon is evaded or dealt damage. So that means even if you lock it down, if you evade him with the locations, he'll still just ready. I like that. That's a little bit spooky for sure. Ultimatum of Annoyance. When the campaign begins, shuffle 3 random cards with the technically encounter set into each investigator's deck. That's funny. Alright. And now we have some boons. And I think these boons are very interesting because they're kind of like taboos for scenarios. So, Boon of the Dreamer, where the gods dwell. After advancing to Act 5, advance to Agenda 3A and remove all Doom from it. This agenda gets +2 Doom threshold. So now you actually have time to fight near Lathotep, which is really nice. Can you never evade Dagon? Yeah, you can evade Dagon. Or Hydra if you play with that ultimatum. They're just always there, ready to rock. Ready to frick your S up. So yeah, I think that's a nice change. You can actually now fight near Lathotep. Boon of Atonement, Shade of Shuffling, each agenda gets a +1 Doom threshold. Again, just more time, which is nice. The Feast of Hemlock Vale. When choosing Residence to share dance with during the prelude, players may check the relationship level requirements of a codex entry before resolving it, just removing some of the feel bads. Boon of Bliss. Fate of the Veil, each agenda gets a +2 Doom threshold. Very nice for a very tight... I hear it's very tight, and it is, because both times we were pretty close to losing. Having an option to have it be a little bit less stressful is nice for new players. And then we got Boon of the Miners. Fate of the Veil version 3's first ability should read Spend X clues, place X resources on your location as kindling, and its second ability should read Lightning Bolt if your location has player kindling, remove all kindling from it, draw one aside. Okay. So I imagine that, I haven't played this version of it, but I imagine that just makes it easier to trigger. Just like easier to get this this result done, because I hear the fire result. This is pretty hard to get. Boon of Bliss is interesting because Duke has been recommended to people playing solo or 2-player, but this doesn't have that restriction. No, I mean it doesn't make sense that it shouldn't. But this is like them trying to do it without actually going to official errata. Alright, that's our FAQ and taboo list. Honestly, like the big thing is the ultimatums and boons. These are really cool. I think they're going to be fun to try and explore. And I'd love to see them add more to it in the future. I especially want more refractions too. I think that this is kind of just like a nice way to do challenging things for yourself if you want to just try pumping some games out. Now I need some print and pay cards for refractions. Yeah, I mean you probably make them yourself pretty easily. I can't imagine they're going to release them. They might, but at the same time, they're not as ubiquitous as taboos. I think overall the taboo list is kind of as I expected. Overall, it's pretty minor. I think as a whole, it's pretty good. Big rule changes were the actions. That was the big rule change for this one. Rod of Carnimagos is sick. Again. Don't change it. Don't change it. Please leave it. It's great. It's just fun. Where's the action one? It's going to be up here. We're close to it. Yeah, this is the big change. Oh, that's the ignoring all costs. This is the big one of this. This is the big actual rule change here. Yeah. I like it overall though. I like this change quite a bit. I think this is a pretty good taboo list. Taboo list FAQ. I'm happy with it. I'm very excited for Drowned City. I saw someone said that they're looking at doing another one before Drowned City comes out. I do think that the cadence of, I think October is a little bit late, but I know there was a little bit of a delay in being able to get this one out. But a early winter, late summer cadence is probably pretty good for this. Yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. We'll be back for more Arkham Horror in the very near future. Have a good one, and as always, GG's.